Today's objective is to simplify exponential expressions and use positive exponents only. Whenever you have a negative exponent, in order to make it positive, you're going to send it to the bottom of a fraction. So the positive form of negative 2 is 2, and since there's nothing left up here, you just write a 1, so it becomes 1 over x squared. So when you have x, that's just the same thing as x to the first, but we don't write the 1. Y to the negative 2. So since the x has a positive exponent, it's going to stay on top of a fraction. And since the y has a negative exponent, it goes to the bottom of a fraction. So that's the same thing as x over y squared. So we have x to the negative 2, y to the negative 3. Both of those are negative, so where are they going to go in my fraction? Bottom. So x to the negative 2 becomes what? X squared. And y to the negative 3? Y cubed. And what do I put in the top of my fraction? 1. So it's 1 over x squared y cubed. We have x to the 4th, y to the negative 5th. Since this is positive, we're going to have a fraction, and it stays in the top since it's positive. And since the y is to the negative 5th, it becomes positive 5 and goes to the bottom. So it's x to the 4th over y to the 5th. This is x to the 4th y squared over x squared y. This is a division problem. So when you have exponents and there's division involved, you check to see which exponent is bigger between the top and the bottom when the bases are the same. So you have x to the 4th on top and x squared on bottom. So which one's bigger, 4 or 2?
4.
4. So the x is going to stay on top. And what's 4 minus 2? 2. So that's x squared. Now we look at our y's. Is 2 bigger, or what's the exponent with this? 1. So which one's bigger, 2 or 1? 2. So it stays on top. And 2 minus 1? 1. So your answer is x squared y. We have x to the negative 2, y cubed, over x to the 4th, y to the negative 2. So we have x to the negative 2 over x to the 4th. So is 4 bigger, or is negative 2 bigger? 4. So that exponent goes on the bottom. So what's 4 minus negative 2? 6. Okay, now we look at our y's. We have y cubed and y to the negative 2. So which one's bigger, 3 or negative 2? 3. So that exponent goes on top. And what's 3 minus negative 2? 5. So we should have y to the 5th over x to the 6th. When you have x squared cubed, you just multiply the exponents. So it becomes x to the 6th. And that would be the same thing as having x squared times x squared times x squared. So 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 2 is 6. So you get the same thing of x to the 6th. So for the practice problem, we have x to the negative 2nd to the 4th. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. So it would be x to the negative 8. We don't keep our exponents in the negative form. So in order to make this into the positive form, we write a 1 over the positive form of negative 8, which is 8. So we have 1 over x to the 8th. We have x squared to the negative 3. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So we have 1 over x to the 6th. X to the negative 2 to the negative 3rd power. So we have negative 2 times negative 3, which is x to the 6th. That means there's nothing on the bottom, so x to the 6th. Y'all have it right. No. Almost everybody has it right. Sanders, Lujan, Stafford,
Oh my gosh.
Ramey, Moore, or Fields, sorry. Davis. Who got wrong? Johnson. Mollett. Moore. Mr. Haley, do you understand why it's positive? Okay. Whenever you have two negatives and you multiply them together, you get a positive. If there's a positive exponent, you don't have to write 1 over it. You only write that if there's a negative exponent. Okay? Does that make sense? So if that had been like x to the negative 6, then it would have been 1 over x to the 6th. Okay? All right. We did these, right? We did a practice, or yeah, this will be practice. I was just making sure that we did a example like this. First and second period runs together, kind of. Is -3 or -4 bigger? -3. And is -2 or -1 bigger? Good. Just keep that in mind. Just leave it there. It's alright. Rainy. Move on. Sanders. Stafford. Mullet. Fields. Moore. That one should have been x to the 30th. Okay. So we have x to the -3, y to the -2 over x to the -4, y to the -1. We have -3 on top and -4 on bottom. So we said that -3 was bigger than -4. So what's -3 minus -4? 1. So we just leave x alone. Now we have y to the -2 and y to the -1. We said that -1 was bigger than -2, so the y stays there. And what's -1 minus -2? 1. So your final answer would just be x over y. So for this one we have x to the -5 times y over x times y to the -2. So we have x to the first on the bottom and x to the -5th on top. So which one's bigger, 1 or -5? 1. So my x is going to stay on the bottom. So what's 1 minus -5? 6. Okay, so we have y to the first over y to the -2. So which one's bigger, 1 or -2? 1. So my y is going to go on top. And what's 1 minus -2? 3. So we have y cubed over, y cubed over x to the 6th. We have x squared y to the -2 over x to the -3 y to the -6. So we have x squared over x to the -3. Is 2 bigger or -3? 2. So the x is going to be on top. Then we have, what is 2 minus -3?
5.
Fifth. Okay, now our y's. We have -2 and -6. Which one's bigger?
-2.
-2. So our y is going to be on top. What? -2 minus -6, we said is 4, so it's x to the 5th, y to the 4th.